Don't you love learning little tricks about life that give you an advantage with other people? I know I do. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. And recently I came across a book called 59 Seconds. Think a Little, Change a Lot, by a gentleman named Richard Wiseman. First of all, is that a great name or what? Richard Wiseman. And I've come across, he's actually a professor, an author, he's on YouTube, and I've come across several of his writings before because other people have used him, quoted him in making their conclusions. And since we are here to educate, lead, and inspire, getting along with other people and understanding how they work is a critical piece of living a successful life. So I want to go over with you some of these things that Professor Wiseman has come up with. Once again, great book, 59-second summary, Think a Little, Change a Lot. Tremendous book. Let's go over some of the things. And there's quite a few of them. It's probably going to take us 2 parts, so let's do that. All right. First of all, I want to just give you an experience, kind of what I'm talking about. I had a friend of mine who's my best friend, and I was living on the West Coast, and he lives in Boston, and I was coming for a visit, so I drove over to his office, and he worked for himself, you know, self-employed. And he's on the phone with somebody, and he sees me come into the office, and he waves, "Hi, come on in. Good to see you, Eli's dad. Haven't seen you in a while. You know, live on opposite coasts." And you know, he says, "Come on in." And he's talking on the phone with somebody. All right, and like I see him going like this, you know, like, you know, I want to get this person off the phone already. And then he reaches into his drawer, and he pulls out a tiny little phone and puts it on the desk, and I'm thinking to myself, what the heck is this tiny little phone? And he hits the button, and it starts ringing like a phone. And so he says to the other guy, he says, "Hey, my other phone's ringing, I gotta go, all right? I'll be in touch. Thanks a lot, bye-bye." I couldn't stop laughing, all right? I thought that was the funniest thing that I had seen. He pulls out this little phone and starts ringing, "Hey, my other phone's ringing." All right. He told me, he said, "You know what, that's not the only way that you get rid of people like that. I mean, I'm not telling you to do these things, but I mean, they're just kind of funny little nuances that he had." And what he said is, you know what you do when you're talking to somebody and you're in the middle of a sentence, talk to them and then hang up the phone in the middle of the sentence. And then they'll think, oh, he would never hang up the phone on himself. All right. So anyway, just kind of a couple of neat little things. I want to go over some of these things with you because they are kind of neat. They're not all devious like that, but they're very, very practical things. First one is, happiness doesn't just flow from success, it actually causes it. If you want to cheer yourself up, behave like a happy person. I put those two together. Those were 2 separate ones because one of the things every morning when you wake up, hopefully you're giving yourself some quiet thinking time, you're visualizing your goals, you're seeing yourself achieve them, you're getting emotionally attached to it. These are critical elements. You want to be emotionally attached to your burning desire, and you see yourself accomplish it. You've made the decision that since you've accomplished it, that you're a happy person. That vibe that you send out, not only to the universe, but to other people, people feel that. So your success comes from you being happy. So you're helping yourself by doing that visualization, by feeling that emotional attachment to achieving your goal. When people can afford the necessities in life, an increase in income does not result in a significantly happier life. You know, people tend to think, you know, once I have this quote-unquote item, then I'm going to be happy. But once you have the basic necessities, hey, you're there, you've already achieved it. So it's not things, it's not stuff that's going to make you more happy. Materialism takes root in early childhood and is mainly driven by low self-esteem. Do you remember when you were a kid and you had that kid that was from a wealthy family, and he wasn't exactly Mr. Personality per se, and he wanted to be part of the group, and then always would bring stuff, like, oh, I got this, I got that, got the latest toys, so on and so forth. And they think that by having items, by having stuff, by having materialistic things, that's what makes people happy. Well, guess what? It's not. Want to buy happiness? Then spend your hard-earned cash on experiences. When it comes to happiness, remember that it is experiences that represent a really good value for the money. This is so true. When you have shared an experience with someone, that is so much, it's something that you remember forever and ever and ever and ever. So remember, if you're going on vacation, if you have something you want to do, it's the experience that you will remember, not the stuff that you bought. Okay? To encourage people to do more of something they enjoy, try presenting them with the occasional small surprise reward after they have completed the activity, or praise the fruits of their labor. This is a critical thing, and as a leader, this is something that I encounter all the time. When you're giving people feedback, people crave feedback. They want to know that they're doing something the correct way. It's when you do that, when you give people that positive feedback, what it does is it encourages repetition of that same positive activity. And that's what you want. When you don't give feedback, people are either A, bitter because they say, well, he doesn't really appreciate what I'm doing, or B, they start to wonder, is what I'm doing really the right thing? When you give that positive feedback, what you're doing is you're giving the receiver certainty that A, you appreciate it, and B, they're doing it correctly, and C, that you're encouraging them to do more. To increase the likelihood of somebody liking you, get them to do you a small favor. I never really thought of that before, but it's really true. Just getting somebody, if you ask somebody a big favor, it's like they can feel like, well, I'm putting myself out there, so on and so forth. But when you do somebody a small favor, that's a sign of friendship. And when you ask somebody to do a small favor and they do it, it brings you closer together. Just a scenario that you need to know. If you want to increase your chances of making a good impression in a meeting, sit towards the middle of the table. Now, I've heard all sorts of things like this in my experience as a salesperson, as a sales trainer. I even teach some of them. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I teach as a sales trainer is that when you are the boss of the company, of the situation, when you're the top person in the situation, and you're having a meeting and you're not the person running the meeting, when you're there as part of the group, always sit in the back of the room. Why? Because when you're the boss, people are always focused on, what does the boss think? What is the boss saying? What kind of an attitude is the boss generating? If you're sitting in the back of the room, then they have to turn all the way around to see you, and nobody does that. All right? So what they do is they keep their focus where you want them to keep their focus, on the person running the meeting. And especially if you're the boss and you want to get input and also see where everybody stands on a particular subject, it's much easier to do that from the back, because once again, people are focused where you want them, and you get a better idea of what they really feel, what they're really thinking. When you sit in the middle of the table instead of at the end, people that sit at the end of the table, for some reason, just sort of like, at the Thanksgiving dinner, the man of the house carves the turkey, okay? And the man of the house isn't always the man, by the way, but the person that carves the turkey sits at the front of the table, And if you're trying to create a more egalitarian scenario, it's easier to like people in the middle than it is to like people on the end, because they have it's sort of an authority type position. I don't understand the why, because, and all that, but Richard Wiseman, okay, if Richard Wiseman says that, you have to believe it. When you gossip about another person, listeners unconsciously associate you with the characteristics you are describing, ultimately leading to those characteristics being transferred to you. So those of you that are in the gossip mode, remember, when you are talking about somebody else in a gossipy way, the people that are listening are attributing those particular attributes to you. We like people who are like us and find them far more persuasive than others. Boy, if you can't figure that out in the year 2020 with the political climate that we have, I have a friend that I like very much, a business associate, and he and I couldn't be on more different ends of the political spectrum if we tried. We like each other. We try and avoid having that kind of conversation, but he's always sending me emails, little jokes, about this, about that, about his position, and so on and so forth. And, I just can't hit the delete button fast enough, when I see those things, because I don't agree with them. And somebody else will say something, and I'll, that's in the same political position that I'm in, and I'll agree with them wholeheartedly. And I want to, and take their argument. So keep this in mind, all right? Keep that in mind. People that, are like you, they're far more persuasive than others when people think the same way that you do. The more people who are around when a person is apparently in need of assistance, the lower the likelihood of any one person actually helping. Wow. I never really thought about that before, but it's really true, isn't it? If somebody gets hurt and a crowd gathers, and then people in the crowd, their first reaction is, oh my goodness, call 911 or this. All right, but then what they do is they go, well, this really isn't my deal, so I'm going to take off somebody. Oh, there's other people here, they'll take care of it. That's the attitude that people typically tend to have. So if you find yourself in that situation, make sure you get a commitment. If you're the person that's in need of help, get a commitment. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Would you do that for me, please? All right? Get a commitment, because if you don't, you just say, oh, there's all these people around, they're going to take care of it. Don't count on it. Favors have the strongest effect when they occur between people who don't know each other very well, and when they are small but thoughtful. That sort of piggybacks on, if you want someone to like you more, ask them to do a favor, a small favor, and when they do, it's a bonding experience. Some research suggests, okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about food, one of my favorite subjects. Some research suggests that eating more slowly helps people eat less, perhaps because it fools our brains into thinking that we've eaten more and allows extra time for the body to digest food. Okay, I can buy that. If you want to reduce your drinking, stay away from short, wide glasses and stick to tall, narrow ones. And the argument there is, when you actually look at the volume that's in a short, wide glass, it's significantly about 20% larger than a tall, thin glass. Just a common sense thing. Once again, these are common scenarios made to help you out. Research shows that just placing food or drink out of sight or moving it a few meters away can have a big effect on consumption. To cut intake, make sure that tempting foods are out of sight and in a place that is difficult to access, such as the top of a cupboard or a basement. Those things make sense. And if you think about it, you take that special thing and you put it away, you don't want to have it, and then sometimes I get to the point where I forgot I put it away, and then I say, oh, that food's been there for a while. Okay, but the point is, out of sight, out of mind. Kind of simple. People eat significantly more when they are distracted at meal times and therefore not paying attention to their food. Wow, that one is true. It's sort of, it's like somebody buys a pizza, you're there watching a ball game, you're focusing on the game. What are you constantly doing? You're getting up, you're having another slice, or you're at some place where there's pretzels or nuts or whatever. You're constantly digging your hands in there. If it's there, you don't even think about it. So if you're not concentrating on the food itself, you tend to eat more. Okay, so those are some things that, some truths that about life that are good to understand. Next time we get together, we're going to go through a few more that I found I love stuff like that. I mean, I absolutely love little things like that. When I was in sales, one of the things we always taught, if you had a husband and a wife, you want to be making if you have to sit between them, you want to be a little closer to the wife than you do to the husband. Why? Because the husband will feel uncomfortable if you're a guy and you're sitting too close to him. And if you sit, it's more acceptable to sit closer to a woman than to a guy. All right. Another one I love these things. All right, and they're true. When you're making a presentation to, let's say, a husband or a wife or to two people, make your presentation going to your right, because people that are right-handed are more comfortable looking to their left than they are looking to their right. So if you're looking to your right, they're looking to the left, and they are more comfortable. Now these are all little things, but when you add them up and you put yourself in position and you're in a sales mode, you feel more confident. And when you know little things like that, it gives you the confidence, and that just comes right out of you, and people are able to feel it. Does that make sense? And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, easy for me to say, let's get out there, make some sense, and charge! I'm Eli's dad.